fee is $5,000 or $10,000. So the owner, the buyer that I have found, they bring $40,000 to the title company. The buyer gets their 30 and I get whatever's left over. Does that make sense? And I, as the investor, I never had to purchase the property. I never had to make any repairs. All I had to do was hustle and go find the deal, get it under contract to protect myself, and then hustle again to find somebody else who's willing to pay more for that property. For an example, AG and I were talking to a homeowner yesterday, and we noticed that there's a builder building like crazy. They have signs all over the place. Guess what we did? We called the builder and asked what they were willing to pay for lots. And now that we know that, we're going to use that information and try to make an agreement with the homeowner that we were talking to for less money than that. Does everybody get that? We already have a buyer. We already know how much they're willing to pay. And we know they're active. They own a lot of properties. They're building a lot in that part of town.
42 in that one subdivision.
I wasn't going to say that, but yeah, they have 42 properties that they're in the process of buying and building new homes on. So we know what they're willing to pay. Now we're going to go use that and try to negotiate a better deal than that with the homeowner. So that is wholesaling.
Okay, thank you. So the format of the panel, guys, is pretty straightforward. For about 45 minutes to an hour, we'll go through a series of questions. And then maybe towards the end, if you guys would like to ask some specific questions, we can spend a few minutes talking about that, okay? So with that, why don't I go, Will, are you here? You definitely are. Come on in, sir. So if I may request you guys to maybe spend a couple minutes and just briefly discuss your wholesaling career and talk about who you are, what you do. By the way, guys, in my opinion, I personally have been in Houston for the past 13 years. I don't know if all of you have ever spoken at the same panel at the same time before. Have you? Yes? No? You were supposed to say no, AG. This is the first time around. The point that I was going to make is in this particular group. Okay.
RealAcquisitions is my first time here.
All together. Okay. I personally have not heard you guys together, so I'm really excited. These are probably the most prominent wholesalers in Texas right now, guys. So this is a very, very powerful panel. So I personally am very pumped up about these guys being here. So Will, take it on, sir, and just maybe a couple minutes talk about who you are, a little bit about yourself, and then pass on the mic.
My name is Will. I've been wholesaling for 7 to 8 years. I've been saying that for a while now, but pretty much 98% of what I do is wholesaling. So I've been through every little hurdle, every little bump, do a lot of counseling for people. It works. So I've been through the gamut of all kinds of things. I like it. It's quick, fast, and easy. And I do some training or did some training in the past, but it's a great place to get started, and we'll talk more about that, I guess, when we get into the questions.
My name is Joseph Tomaselli. I've been wholesaling here for about 2 years. I'm very aggressive. This is something I really feel passionate about. I have a sales background, so this is kind of a smooth transition. Not so much, but it was a little smoother than I thought. But this is what I really love to do, and I plan on doing this for the rest of my life. So.
My name is Andy Davies, and my contact information or my name's up there. And we have a company called the Cash Cowboys, and we primarily market under that name. And we've been in Houston doing real estate for past 10 years. I started out as a rehabber, did a number of rehabs, moved into wholesaling, and ended up doing landlording and other stuff from there, but really came back to wholesaling. I really enjoy the art of the deal, the thrill of the hunt, so to speak. And my focus, and as these guys will hope pass on to you, is really understanding and marketing to the motivated seller. It's real unique to our business, and it really is the start of where real estate happens, in my opinion, is finding the motivated seller.
Yeah, it made it. All right, my name is AC Ramos. My company's name is Cityscape Investments. I started in 2002 in real estate and started with rehabbing And in 2004 is when I found out about wholesaling, and pretty much, you know, I've done it all since then, rehabbing, had rental properties, but wholesaling is my favorite. Even though everybody says it's the one you start with and then move on to everything else, I'm a little bit ADD, so it fits me perfectly. I can just be in and out of a deal and not have to worry about the repairs and everything. You know, so I've seen a lot since 2004. I've seen the market shift and the different types of buyers you had to go to. So it's been quite a ride, but I can say it's definitely been fun and worthwhile.
Okay, so hold on to the mic, AC. You probably have one of the largest. Clay, we're missing you. Come on in. All right, guys. Last but not the least, Mr. Clay Cahan. Is the mic going to stretch or?
What are we doing here?
Just a quick introduction about your wholesaling career. Here, why don't we do this? Just let's swap this. You guys share this mic, and Will and I, Joseph, will share this.
I don't know, my story's probably fairly typical. I started with a class on how to buy foreclosures from Linda Muscarello, and I found I could not replicate her success, so I tried some other things, but you know, been doing a little bit of wholesaling here and there for 7 years now, and it's a great way for a new investor to get started. So there we go. Typical.
So AC, if you could take this question, you probably have one of the largest wholesaling operations in town. I wanted to see if you can maybe spend a minute or two talking about, there must be many people here who are just starting their wholesaling career. Anyone like that here? Just getting started, okay. I'm sure they would like to know a few tips that when they start, what are some of the things that they can do, a few pointers to jumpstart their business?
Definitely a great way to jumpstart is by being at meetings like this, getting to know, you know, buyers, networking with other people, finding out who's doing what. You know, when I first started everything, you know, everybody and their mother was buying houses and flipping them. Like by the time you got it under contract and closed on it, it was worth more money than when you started. And then when the market changed, I realized that buyers are the key. If you network and you have buyers that are real buyers and ready to buy your properties, that's the difference than, you know, getting a property and then, you know, having nobody to sell it. You know, you can find deals all day long. And to find deals, you just want to get your name. You got to get your name and your message out there all the time that you're buying houses, and the deals will come. But you're not going to be able to do nothing with it if you don't have the buyers to end the transaction with.
Please continue, guys.
I guess just put this on the table. It's a great time to get into wholesaling, just because the market's taken off and there's a real need. We're seeing rehabbers come out of the woodwork. I've probably been at these kind of clubs, been meeting people that I haven't seen in a while. So it's just, there's a real demand right now for cheap property. Outside of that, if you're getting a new, I think the biggest thing is to set goals and take action. I find that there's a lot of people who can give you information and you can learn about wholesaling, but until you actually start doing it, start doing the marketing, I think that's when you go from being on the sidelines to actually being an active wholesaler.
I completely agree with these two. I'm going to go ahead and say one more thing, and I think it's probably not mentioned enough, and that's getting a mentor, somebody you can rely on, even if it's just a friend who's wholesaled a couple more deals than you. You know, you never know who's done more than you until you ask. And I remember when I first got started, I sent Andy like 25 emails. And I kept on hitting him up and, you know, calling him, hey, Andy, what can I do to be different? No. He told me to call like 100 green sheet ads, and I did. And it was free, and I didn't have any money at the time. But even though I didn't have the money to buy a mentorship program, I stuck around in these places, and I got these guys' phone numbers, and I just called them whenever they weren't too busy, sent them a text message, email, whatever, but I was just aggressive. And it's having that mentor and coming here and being aggressive. That's really just it. I mean, keep it simple, and that's my opinion.
In the beginning, if you're starting with wholesaling, you know, take it slow. realize that there's going to be a learning curve and that you don't have all the answers yet. But you will if you constantly, just like they're saying, taking action and learning. And just because you make a mistake doesn't mean, oh, this isn't going to work. It's a process. I fail faster. If a list doesn't work, I just speed up that process. What can I learn from it and you know, go ahead. 2 questions that got me through in the very beginning was, how do I find a deal? It prompts action. Well, I don't know. I guess I could put out bandit signs. I guess I could do a marketing campaign. I guess I could go to the green sheet. How do I find a deal? Once you get it done or get that deal, how do I get this deal to close quickly? And whatever issue you come up, ask that question and then answer it, and that's going to take you through the next step, even if you don't know what the answer is. Because when you're starting off in the beginning, you're going to have all the what ifs and oh, geez, but what about this and what about, and you're going to think of all these things. And once you do your first deal, not to say that it was easy, but God, it wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. And all those what ifs go away. You know, when you get your first deal, I got to get that $5,000. I got to make, but the numbers don't work. Don't focus on the 5, focus on getting the deal closed because you're educating yourself, you're learning. Does that make sense?
Thank you, guys. So, Will, on that note, that's a great segue into what the next line of questioning is, which is, and on this question, I would request all of you guys to get a little more specific, give more technical answers, give more specific resourceful answers, which is the biggest challenge, obviously, for many, many people, seasoned as well as new, is finding deals, finding those distressed buyers. So if you could, talk about what is your process. And has that process changed over the years? Is that process different for someone who's new versus someone who is seasoned, experienced like yourself? And then last but not the least, on that same line, what are you teaching to your students? Like you brought up a great point, Joseph. What are you teaching to your students? What are you teaching to your mentees?
What was the question? No. When you're first getting started, I mean, the key is the market. You know, I'm not a wholesaler, I'm a marketer. What do I do in marketing? And this, I might have said this a couple of times, but I market in a big way with postcards and letters. What did I do in the beginning? It's completely changed, but I mail postcards and letters. It works. It's boring. You know, it's all the people are looking for this magic flux capacitor that, man, you push that button and holy cow. Had a student, did his first deal, did a marketing campaign, bought a deal. He wanted to wholesale so he'd have enough money to keep a property for himself. He ended up, looked at the property. I said, man, why don't you keep this one? I'm thinking I might do that. I think long story short, he ended up rehabbed it, refied, got all his money back with no money in the deal and actually got money back at closing. He was ecstatic. 90 days later, or maybe a little bit longer, I'm talking to him. Hey, man, I'm working on the second letter. Second letter? What do you mean? Well, I got to do this 3-letter marketing campaign, and I'm working on the second letter, so I can't send the first letter out until I get the second letter done. Well, what list are you sending it to? Man, I got this awesome tax flux capacitor list. I bought it. Was $700. I'm like, wow, okay. I'm a little confused. How much did you spend on that first list? No. This is it was $700. No, the first list you did. Oh, no, that didn't cost anything. Was it the second or third letter you sent them that got you the deal? No, I just sent them a postcard. Rinse and repeat. I mean, it seems kind of obvious. We're all looking for that easier way. There's ways and things that we can do to improve, but you really it's simple. Mail out your campaigns. You're not going to spend $2,000 in marketing and not get any calls without making a change of some sort. And that's where you come to these groups. Man, I mailed this. How can I get my list better? How do I get better leads? How do I get more motivated sellers? Those are the questions I ask today. But when you're starting off, get your phone to ring and focus on the result. At the end of the day, it's not how many calls you get or it's how many deals did you close. And then eventually it becomes the dollar amount. I do internet, which I'm not going to get into right now. But starting off, there's time and energy. If you don't have the money, green sheet and all that, you got to run a lot more leads to get a deal. But you're putting in the sweat equity. Eventually, once you get money for marketing, You can spend money in marketing, start testing it, learning. If you're spending $100 in marketing, your phone's not going to blow up. Just so you know, the average cost per buy is $1,500 to $2,000. That's what we spend to end up getting a deal. So if you're spending $100, you might get lucky, you might get the deal on the first. I hope you don't, because that really kills your motivation. You think it's that easy all the time. So
Repeat the numbers that you just gave. A lot of people have confusion about those numbers.
on average, most people spend $1,500 to $2,000 for every deal that they get. Some marketing campaigns are different, but use that as an average. If you're spending $500 a month, it might take 4 months to get your first deal. And there's more variables of that, like your closing ratio, how good you are with the sellers, and things like that. But that's, kind of some quick information.
I'll definitely agree with Will, and I'll try to take a step back. I know Will's probably much more organized than me, so he probably doesn't have to deal with this problem. But I was extremely unorganized when I first started. I mean, I'm a right brain kind of guy, so being logical, orderly is not me. So I would get a system. There's plenty of systems out there. I even think RealAcquisitions, I use RealAcquisitions, so I would obviously give my vote of confidence for them. But get a system that's going to keep you organized. Get a system that's going to make you stay on target, because you got to focus on being ABC. It's all systems. I mean, I've learned from these guys, and I just do the same thing. I don't really do very much anything different from these guys. And it's simple. I have a system. Next, my marketing cost is about, right now, when I got started, it was like $200, like $100. I didn't have anything. So I got $100. I went out, put bandit signs, as many as I could, and I got every single week 50 and put them out there. I got coroplast signs. I got 2 places. If anybody's interested, I'll share with you after. They're really cheap, cheaper than anyone else in town, guaranteed. Get 100, get 200. I would suggest get 100 if you can tomorrow. Get 100, stick out 50, 25, but keep it consistent. Use blue ink on the markers. I love blue. AC laughs because he knows I love blue ink. I don't like the black. It doesn't last as long, but it shows, like I talked to Chris Tubbs back there, and I got enormous results in my last campaign. I got 10 calls on black markers out of 100, and I got 25 calls with 75 signs with blue ink.
And you see how he's tracking his marketing and making it better? But during the interim, he keeps doing what's working.
No worries. That absolutely right. I mean, I try to refine it as much as possible. I called him last week and I said the same thing. I said, "Hey, what are you up to?" He's just refining my systems.
So the right brain person's changing the colors.
That's right. I'm changing the colors, and
Try pink next time.
that's right. I've tried red, white, and blue. I tried green before. I mean, whatever. Just stay focused and have your system, have your organized system, have your database, have your marketing, and follow up. That's it. I mean, I think most people really, I know I failed a lot because I didn't follow up in the beginning. I bet that might be some of you all's problem. I mean, I don't mean to be rude. I'm not trying to be mean or anything, but no, nobody follows up. I ask people all the time, I said, "When's the last time you called that guy?" I haven't talked to him. How long has it been? 2 months? I mean, 70% of my deals that close, I'm not as big as these guys, but 70% of my deals that close are all follow-ups. All those 70% are follow-ups. I rarely get a deal that I close right off the bat. I have to follow up. Google Voice, change my number. I gotta get technical because sometimes they don't answer the phone. And I blow up their phone. I keep on calling. So, I mean, I'm relentless. So those 3 things, I would say, get a database, get marketing taken care of, get your budget. I would start out with 100 signs, 200, as long as you keep them consistent. Use blue ink, and use roofing nails. Put them on poles. Because bottom line is people are going to take down your signs. City of Houston and me, I'm just kidding. But anybody can take down your sign if they have staples on them or they're on the H wires. So I've refined my system now a little bit, and I'm mixing it up. I'm using them on H wires, and I'm putting them on poles, and I'm getting pretty good results. So, I mean, those three things have helped me a lot.
I guess
I run away from them if they see me. Just run. No, I use.
The question is, do they find, when you said they, you probably mean the city or the subdivision or?
There's 3 areas that you want to avoid. I mean,
And they can.
yeah, and they can. Don't get me wrong. There's 3 areas you want to avoid. Specifically, I put out 150 signs out in 1960 and 45 area. And I'll tell you what, I had a friend that they emailed me. I don't know how they got my email. They emailed me and said, you got to take down your signs or, you know, we're going to take you to court. So avoid that area. A couple more areas like the Heights, Westbury. Those are the top 3 I try to avoid. Sugarland. I don't know Katy. Have you tried Katy yet? They don't
You'll
do-
find
yeah.
out pretty quick what areas not to put them in.
Yeah.
You know,
Exactly.
as soon as they go out, you get the calls. If the sheriff calls you in the morning, you know that's an area you don't want to hit.
Yeah.
If someone calls and complains, just be extremely